pretty disturbing information that I have witnessed since we've seen this rash of really severe weather in southeastern Wisconsin over the last 24 hours. So there are individuals that are trying to take advantage of the misfortune of others, and they are purporting to raise money and collect dollars for people who have been displaced by the flooding. And there's been some really, really horrible damage. And I know that you guys have seen some of the pictures, and people submitted pictures to me, and we posted those in the Hughes Views Facebook group. But what you're going to see is people are walking around with their cell phones, and they are broadcasting live from different places where there's been really extensive flood damage. And they're going to show the cracked and broken foundations of people's homes. To some extent, they might even go in some of these homes just to show you the damage. And then the individual who is recording may not even be at all related to, or there's no agreement between the person whose home was damaged and the one that's recording. And please just be aware that, you're taking a risk when you do that. Some years ago, and I'm telling this as a cautionary tale, because I actually had a similar situation happen to me where there was a natural disaster. It was a woman with 2 kids, and I knew this woman, and I got a hotel room for her. And there was a bunch of us that were taking turns getting hotel rooms for this woman and raising money for her. Like a tree fell on our house, and it was horrible. Like she couldn't live in her house for months because contractors and all this other stuff take forever. Well, I got the hotel room the first night in my name, and all of the incidentals were on me, right? So her kids ate up all the snacks, which I didn't even think about that. So that was put on my hotel bill. And they broke the bed because the kids were jumping on the bed. So I was responsible for all of those incidentals. So if you're going to get a hotel room for someone that friend, family member, because of their property being damaged by these floods, just know that you're on the hook for those incidentals. Something else that people are doing is they're asking their elected officials for money, for help with hotel rooms and replacement of their items. That is not what elected officials are for. In fact, there was one person in particular who found out that a Milwaukee alderman they have this annual back to school fair, it's like a festival. And this lady said, well, no, stop, don't have your annual back to school festival. You need to collect money and help individual people, find hotel rooms and help them fix their properties. So that's not the purpose of elected officials. Now, we do have a federal agency called FEMA that can help with things like that. Or if you have flood insurance, then this is a time where you would file a claim. But 99% of folks do not have flood insurance. And the thing with FEMA was pretty much defunded by the Trump administration. So there are agencies that do have monies to assist people with putting their lives back together. But because of who the president is, a lot of that money we probably will not see. Governor Tony Evers has said he's going to deploy some National Guard troops, not for domestic policing, but to assist residents and probably some engineering and some road repair, because we've lost actually quite a few roads due to this really severe flooding as well. And for people that think that this was an issue of infrastructure, it was not. So the last time we had really major flooding that we could blame on infrastructure, it was before the Deep Tunnel project was completed, so probably 1997. We'd have significant flooding in and around the Milwaukee area. We'd have sewage backups. We'd have to dump a lot of raw sewage into Lake Michigan. So since the Deep Tunnel has been completed, we've had fewer of those incidents. But even with that multi-billion-dollar, probably a decade's worth of construction project called the Deep Tunnel, nothing is equipped to handle. We got almost 16 inches of rain on certain parts of the northwest side of the city of Milwaukee. So there is no infrastructure, especially in the upper Midwest, that can handle that amount of rainfall in maybe 12 hours. This is also a good time to have a conversation about flood insurance. Now, a lot of you that own homes or own properties, you probably do have some kind of property casualty insurance, but most people do not have flood insurance. That is a separate kind of policy. So at some point on my radio program, we probably should have a discussion about the importance of having a specific policy dealing with damage to your property and your cars too when it comes to flooding. And so that's also a conversation about financial literacy, because the more you know about money, what to do with money, how to make your investments, but then how to protect your assets and your property insurance is certainly one of those things. And a lot of folks simply don't have it. If you are a renter and you've been a tenant, hopefully for a long time and in good standing with your landlord, contact your landlord because it might be rare, but they may have some flood insurance that may or may not cover some things. So that should be the first call. But then also, if you're a tenant and you've been living at the same property, same landlord for a considerable amount of time, maybe if you paid your rent, I mean, imagine, you just paid your rent and now your home is unlivable. Talk to your landlord to see if they can maybe help you temporarily. I know there might be a shot in the dark, but if you just paid your rent on the 1st and now it's the 10th and you can't live in that property until major repairs are done to it, then maybe your landlord will try and work something out with you. But yeah, I don't want folks getting angry at elected officials or thinking that your alderperson or your county supervisor just has money just to give individual people, because they don't. But then I also want to be mindful of the fact that there are folks out there who are scamming and who are taking advantage of other people's misfortunes. And look, I get it, because stuff like this happens through no fault of anybody else's. And, we had the clogged storm sewer drains, which I'll admit, when somebody clears one of those storm sewer drains and you see all the water go down like a gigantic toilet, it's really satisfying watching all that water, millions of gallons of water just drain into the storm sewer, and then all of a sudden the streets aren't flooded anymore. But that's probably a conversation that we should have as well, hoping that Milwaukeeans will be more mindful and don't throw your trash into the street, because it may lead to literal Milwaukee boulevards turning into lakes and rivers. But because this happened through no one's fault specifically, I mean, this was a natural disaster. People think that there's just automatic money out there to help them. That is not, unfortunately, how it works. Even though coming out onto the market, and you're not going to know that those were flood damaged vehicles. So we probably should have a conversation about the flood damaged vehicles that we're going to start seeing. And you're not going to know it unless you know what specific signs to look for if you're buying a used car in the next 6 months to a year. So on my radio program tomorrow, The Truth with Sherwin Hughes, which will be Monday, August 11, 2025. Hopefully I'll have an inbox full of press releases and more information about where people can go and get some resources. I know the Red Cross is in the area if you need a place to stay temporarily. They've got limited beds available, but it's a place where you can get a meal, you can get water, you can charge your devices. So go to the American Red Cross website, assuming that you still have power and internet, and see where they are located and when you can possibly stop by there for some assistance. But yeah, please be aware of folks who are asking you to Cash App them and Venmo them because they are working with whomever to try and get displaced residents hotel room. Just make sure you know the people. And if you feel comfortable giving folks money, because they're basically turning on their cell phone cameras and walking through neighborhoods and showing you the damage on live. And they're saying, hey, Cash App me and we're going to get this family that lives in this house a hotel room for 2 or 3 days. If you feel comfortable doing that, then I guess that's what you feel comfortable doing. But just be aware, and I know that there are several folks out there that are trying to take advantage of this tragedy. So thank you guys for tuning into this. I always say I'm going to broadcast more from the Hughes Views 414 YouTube page. But this was a necessary conversation because I don't want more people getting taken advantage of by some of these scammers, but also to kind of clear up some misinformation and give people some kind of direction of where they can go. I know in the next 24 hours we are supposed to get more rain. I hope it's not a lot, but I'm very worried because the ground is already saturated. So we'll keep you posted. And this is a Hughes Views 414 YouTube broadcast, which, as I'm looking at my meter here, I think it went in and out a couple of times. But we're going to have a lot more detail on my radio program tomorrow, which you can find on the 1017 The Truth YouTube page from 9 a.m. until noon. And we're going to provide as much detail as we possibly can about the storm. You guys can call in on the radio program tomorrow and talk about what you experienced. And for those of you that lost your property or lost your vehicles, we'll be able to hopefully have some information for you as well. So thank you guys, and I will see you tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. on The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on the 1017 The Truth YouTube page.